Hey guys, this is Brandon at Seahawks Llama on Twitter and JB here. We did like 15 minutes of this thing and it wasn't recording because we're pretty new to this. JB and I know each other through poker. We also do sports betting, specializing in NFL. And I think for this week, we're just going to run through really, really quickly what we have so far because I don't feel like talking about these pretty shitty games again. So Vikings and Jets. JB and I had Vikings -2.5 in money line. We think they've got a better. We think their defense is really, really good. Jets offensive line's a little bit iffy at this point. We think that if I had to pick a player to score, though, I think Breece Hall might have a decent game. Garrett Wilson could do okay, but I think the Vikings definitely are the better team in this spot. It's also keep in mind this game's in London, and the Jets will probably have maybe a slight home field advantage, just given the fact that it's a bigger market, the New York market in Europe, definitely. Patriots and Dolphins, terrible game. We both have Patriots money line and spread. Julian mentioned that we should go alternative spread, and then
right.
Bears and Panthers. We both have Bears -4 in money line, and JB said to suggest that we stay away from the spread here. And I think that you said that we should do Caleb Williams over 2 touchdowns, which is +140, and I said DJ Moore touchdown and given a revenge game. And I also have Chuba Hubbard getting over 60 yards. I think that the Panthers could run the ball a little bit, and
absolutely,
we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for joining us here, and we're going to go to the next game now, which was going to be the Colts and Jags.
Yep. So you want me to start out?
Yeah.
Sure. For the Colts and Jags, I actually think it's a pretty tough matchup for everybody this week. I mean, the Jaguars, obviously 0-4 team, huge struggles with their line, not a lot of continuity. Great coach, but Doug Peterson has not been performing this year. This is probably my big stay away game for the week, despite it looking like a matchup that you would want to just bang the money line on with the Colts. But the Colts and the Jaguars, it's a tough matchup because the Jaguars have been using Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie wide receiver, with a lot of different, giving him a lot of different catches, a lot of different looks. But I believe that Anthony Richardson has not shown enough.
He's also him and Jonathan Taylor aren't playing. They're going to go with Flacco. At least.
Are they? Okay.
He got listed as doubtful today for Anthony Richardson, and Jonathan Taylor I think is out. So I picked Trey Sermon up in fantasy. But
okay, then if that's the case, yeah, it's a tough matchup. I mean, my gut feeling is the Colts will come out on top. Joe Flacco loves to have these miraculous games as a backup, but I think it's best to stay away from this game. It's a clear, trap type game. I would say if you really want to go for a team this week, maybe go just money line Colts. Maybe Flacco with a TD or 2. I'm not really sure what they're giving him on the passing yards amount, but it's probably pretty generous. Let me see. So but I would say the safest thing player prop wise, I like Brian Thomas Jr. grabbing a touchdown for the Jaguars. He's shown me a lot from his progression from week 1. I remember week 1, he burned Jalen Ramsey on the Dolphins, and Jalen Ramsey got a pass interference. So I've seen a lot from this guy. He seems like a promising rookie, right up there, maybe not in the same tier as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors on the Giants, but second tier type rookie wide receiver, breaking through possibly the first tier if he continues his progression. So I like that player prop, Brian Thomas Jr. for this week.
Yeah, it's not a bad one.
1 TD.
Yeah, I could see that definitely hitting. So Jags are a weird team. Whenever I do parlays, they always have the one leg that screws up. I used to like I think I did some parlay to win like 5,000 a few years ago. I took the Seahawks at like +300 against the Broncos. That when Russell Wilson plays his first game for Denver. I had the Niners and Bears. I want to say. I think that was a game where Bears were +300. A few other games, and then the Jaguars and the Commanders. And every time the Jags screw me. But this week, I think that they're due for a win. I think Trevor Lawrence played better in his last game.
Right.
I would probably take them like -3.5 in this spot, just given the Colts injuries. But like you said, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, these are quarterbacks that are veterans that could put up big numbers. And Colts definitely have some decent weapons. I mean, Michael Pittman's pretty good. Alec Pierce had some success. They have the rookie out of Texas. Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell, he's pretty good. And yeah, they've got a capable defensive line. But in this spot, I think that I'm just going to take the Jags at home. I think it'll be a good game, but
Right.
we will see what happens. It's definitely not one that I'm like looking forward to bet or anything like that. But
Right. Like you said, I think it's one of those games it's a trap game. Just kind of stay away. The Jaguars have been nothing but disastrous, but I guess like if you look at the money line or like you said, the spread, 165 minus 165 on the money line is not bad. But the only thing I really like, player prop, Brian Thomas Jr. or Brian Robinson Jr.
no, Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Robinson, he's a Commanders player. But
Oh,
I
my
agree with
bad,
you completely. Yeah, Brian Thomas has looked pretty good this year. So that's a good one for me. I'd say player prop wise, it's probably it. Maybe Trevor. I think I have ETN scoring a touchdown. He's been pretty mad this year. It cost him the game against the Dolphins. I think maybe he'll have a bounce back game. But also Tank Bigsby is the backup for them. He's looked pretty good too. So we shall see you there. All right, next game we're going to do is the Bills and the Texans. It's going to be a really good game. Definitely the best game in the 1 o'clock window. That and Ravens Bengals are going to be the two games that'll be on everyone's TVs. And the Bills right now are plus 1.5. So Texans are favored in the spot. Both quarterbacks have been very good this year. It's a really, really, really close one. I know Shakir is out for the Bills in the spot, but I don't know. I think the Texans defense has been kind of mad this year, and I think the Bills have won a close one here. I think that I'd take them maybe. I mean, I just take the money line. I wouldn't really mess with spread in this game. It could really go either way. I know it's a Stephon Diggs revenge game, and James Cook started out the year really hot, and it's been kind of mad the past 2 weeks. And Von Miller got suspended, so that's something to note. And also looking at the injury report for the Texans, Joe Mixon's out, and Aziz Ashire is out. So, or he's actually questionable with no illness. So in the spot, I'm just taking the Bills. I'm not going to overthink it too much. I think that they're going to want to bounce back after last weekend's abysmal performance against the Ravens. And also another thing to note is that it's like big market, not big market, but like big fan base versus small fan base. There's going to be a lot of Buffalo fans at this game in Houston, I would think. So it's not going to be much of a home field advantage, I don't think. You know, when you think of like big NFL fans, you think the Packers, Bills, Raiders, Eagles, those teams travel pretty well, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills, but I think it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna come down to if they can pressure Stroud and manage the Texans receivers because they've got a lot of receiver depth.
Yeah, I think what you said is right on point. I had the Bills money line this week. I think it's gonna be a very close game. It's too close of a game to really pick a spread. I do believe the Joe Mixon injury still lingering hurts the Texans' chance to control the pace of the game as well. So I believe the Bills are going to go there, take care of business. They were embarrassed last week by the Baltimore Ravens. And I think Josh Allen is going to actually have a breakout game with the receiver Keon Coleman, the rookie Buffalo Bills wide receiver. So I think it's going to be a good show out for the Bills in Texas NRG Stadium. It'd probably be a pretty close game. It's hard to tell what the spread's going to be, but I think the Bills will sneak a win, and it's going to be one of the better 1 o'clock games, like you said, as well as the Bengals and the Ravens game.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next one is. Sorry, I just responded to text here. Next one is going to be the Bengals and the Ravens. Ravens are sitting -2.5 here, and this should be a really good game. Bengals had a big bounce back win against the Panthers last week. Looking at injuries here, the Ravens don't have anything too notable. They have Jalen Armour-Davis, the corner, and Andrew Voorhees. Those guys are both questionable. And for the Bengals, Mike Hilton is questionable. He's a pretty good corner. Been a reliable veteran for a long time. But I think in this spot, just given the spread -2.5, I think that the Ravens should win this game. I think they're really starting to get hot at the right time. And I mean, the Bengals have a lot of talent. I think Jamar Chase can have a big game. I know I put in a few different parlays, 2 touchdowns for him or 1 touchdown. I think that he'll do pretty well, and they're getting back to Higgins, which would be nice for them. But I just think the Ravens have the better defense in this game, and I think they're going to want to make a statement. And I think that the Bengals defense has been pretty awful so far this year. So I think that I don't know if they're going to stop the run, or they're going to stop Lamar. And I think that it'll be a good game, but I'm definitely taking the Ravens.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a very tough matchup. 1 o'clock game, obviously. It's a rivalry, a big rivalry between both two teams. We really have to focus on, I think it's Zach Moss. It really depends on how he's going to play today or tomorrow, actually, against the Ravens, because they're going to need to rely on him and then also the passing game. It looks like the Bengals are pretty healthy when it comes in terms of their passing game. They have T. Higgins back from injury. He performed pretty well last week. They also have Jamar Chase. So it's going to be a tough matchup. I actually originally have the Bengals winning this one money line. I know it's a pretty close line right now. I think it's plus 115, but it can go either way. I mean, it would not surprise me if the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry leading the way with the rushing to continue the way they've been playing and outpacing teams with over 100 plus rushing yards every game, which set the record in the first 4 games, that they continue to do this. But I think the Bengals know that their season is kind of on the line already, being 1-3. They're at home, they got to perform. So I'm circling that as one of my big upsets for the week. And I'm going to go with the Bengals plus 110. So the line's been moving from plus 120 earlier in the week to now it's plus 110.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, it'll be a good game. It could really go either way. So I don't blame you for that decision. I think that I could see the Bengals winning this one too. Next one is Browns and Commanders. Looking at this game, we've seen the Browns blow a lot of games lately. David Njoku is questionable, and Brian Robinson's questionable. Noah Brown's out. Jordan Hicks is out. And Jaden Daniels looked amazing the past few weeks. The Commanders have been a really surprise team to start the season. And they just blew out the Arizona Cardinals, who a lot of people thought could be a sleeper team this year. And the Browns, there's not much of a reason to really trust them, but I think they're getting back. Myles Garrett was out for a minute. I think they're getting him back. And I'm taking the Browns in the spot. I think that it's just a young quarterback against a really good defense, even though the Browns haven't been as good defensively as people would expect. I think that they'll have a bounce back game. I think that looking at this game, I think it will be. I think it's gonna be pretty low scoring actually, just given the Browns have struggled in offense, and I think that Jaden Daniels really hasn't faced a elite pass rush yet. Arizona's pretty bad defense. Giants are meh. The Cardinals, the Bengals, a lot of bad defenses. Buccaneers don't have a great defense. We saw the other night. So I'm gonna take the Browns to straight up money line this game. I think that that's another hard team to trust. The Jaguars, Browns aren't teams that you want to trust, but I think that they're gonna get it done.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's a tough matchup this week. Browns versus Washington. We've seen a lot from the rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, but he hasn't really faced top tier or I would say pretty elite defenses. Not saying the Browns are super elite, but they've definitely shown that they can handle many different quarterbacks and different packages. And I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a tough game, even at home, to deliver. So I do like the money line right here with the Browns. I think Deshaun Watson and the Browns are going to have a pretty big statement game compared to what last week was. It was a debacle at the end. They lost right in the last minute against the Raiders. So I think the Browns do bounce back and get a win on the road.
Yeah, it's a good call there. All right, next we have the Raiders and Broncos. It's another game of two pretty bad teams. There's a lot of rumors going along that the Raiders might move up Davante Adams. Makes a lot of sense. He might go to your Jets. He might go to maybe Baltimore. People are thinking maybe the Saints. But I really wanted to stay away from this game. I'd say if I had to go off the top of my head, I would take the Broncos at home. I think they've been playing better the past few weeks. I think they've got a decent defense. If I'm going to bet the game, I might just take the Raiders because, quite frankly, I just like them a little more. I don't know. And I think these are two pretty bad teams overall. Minshew and Knicks, there's not much of a. They're actually pretty comparable players, I'd say. Both kind of game manager types. They could win you a game here and there. Veterans, had a lot of college success. Played in similar teams, Oregon and Washington State, a lot of pass-heavy spread offenses. But also looking at injuries here, no Davante Adams or Zamir White. That's going to be tough for the Raiders to move the ball. And yeah, I think that I don't know. I think the Broncos are slightly better. I don't really have too much to say on this game because I just think both these teams are pretty bad. But I'll take the Raiders. And At -3, I wouldn't even bet that. I'd take either Raiders money line or just avoid betting the game in general.
Right. I think that's one of the games you want to stay away from. Very low scoring. I think it's going to be a kickers royale between both sides. So very low scoring game. Obviously, Devontae Adams is not playing this week due to the trade rumors as well. So I think it's a stay away game, but if you absolutely must bet, could really go both ways. I mean, Brandon has the Raiders winning. I actually like the Broncos slightly just because their
Oh
defense.
no, really? Sorry to interrupt. I think that I take the Raiders. I take the Broncos. I
You
was
take the
saying,
Broncos. Oh,
if I
okay.
think I might like, if I throw in like a billion parlays, I might put the Raiders over just because I just don't like the Broncos. To be honest, their fans are kind of annoying.
Right.
And but if I choose, I'd say Broncos
Yeah.
too. Broncos money line, but I would
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, it's one of those games we want to kind of avoid. I mean, if we're going on player props, maybe, which would sound insane, but I'd probably actually go on Bo Nix hitting 2 touchdowns, as insane as it is. But like we talked about, though, it's probably going to be a very low scoring game. I don't see it more than like 14-17 or something. It's definitely going to be under 40 points, it feels like. But yeah, it's one of those games I would avoid. I would completely avoid. But the Broncos have the number 2 PPR ranked fantasy defense. So that kind of puts me at ease to think that they're going to win, but still, it's a trap type of game. I would avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. One thing that I would say if I choose a player prop, I'd go Javonte Williams in the spot. I think that he's a pretty good back. He's due for a decent game. Raiders, I don't believe they have the best run defense, and I want to say that was Max Crosby shaken up? I'm not 100% sure. Let me look at the injury report actually for this one more time. Just going to see if we have any news here. No, he's fine. Max Crosby's questionable with the ankle and the.
No, is he okay?
Yeah, nothing too significant new with the Broncos here. Mike McGlinchey, their offensive tackle, they paid a decent amount of money to, is hurt.
Right.
But I'd say Javonte Williams could have a good game. And one thing to note is that the Raiders have had a lot of success in Denver, I believe, recently. I don't know the exact number. I will next time I got to compare it with a few stats for these games. But yeah, just something to keep in note. All right, next one we got is the Arizona Cardinals at the Niners. Niners sitting -7. I think if the number was like -9 or something like that, or 9 or 10, I would go with the Cardinals to cover. I think the Niners pretty clearly will win this game. In this spot, I would say probably avoid it, but I really think this is a game where the Niners could win like 24 to like 13 or 24-16. I would not take the Cardinals to cover this number. I don't think their offensive line's good enough. Kyler's been a little bit shaky. He's like not running as much because he's want to get injured, which makes sense. And
Right.
the rookie Marvin Harrison, he's been pretty good, but he's a little inconsistent. And I think that my prop would be Ayuk to finally get a touchdown. He's had a big contract. He probably wants to prove that he's better than Jawan Jennings, who so far this year has been way better than him. And maybe this is a game where maybe Deebo Samuel could put up some numbers. And yeah, I think there's not too much to say here. I think that the Niners will win this game, I think, pretty comfortably, which pains me to say Seahawks fan, but I'm taking the Niners to cover the spread, -7.
Yeah, and I think the -7 is probably the safe play here for the San Francisco 49ers. They still got too many weapons despite Christian McCaffrey's injury, early in the season. Mason's been running really well for them. Deebo Samuel was healthy last week, played pretty well, second week back. I expect a lot of good things. I actually think Ayuk's going to have finally a touchdown. So, but yeah, he's been underperforming by a large margin, but the 49ers should take care of business at home. And the Cardinals have been having their struggles. Obviously, the Commanders last week, they also lost one to the Lions. And yeah, I like the 49ers here. I think the Cardinals continue to have their struggles and on the road, and the 49ers get a W.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with those. All right, next one we got is the Seahawks and Giants. So the Seahawks coming off a tough loss to the Detroit Lions, where they're out without Boy Mafe, without Chen Nwosu, Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and yeah, it was a tough game for them. So they really couldn't stop anybody, and they're going against the Giants who are without Malik Neighbors or Devin Singletary. The Giants, Daniel Jones looked a little bit better the past few weeks, but I don't know. I don't really see how they're going to be able to move the ball in this game. The line right now is Seahawks -7. It was like -5 to start out. And I also think the Giants are without some of their corners. Let me go and double check that. They are Adoree Jackson's questionable. He's a pretty good player. Drew Phillips questionable. He's another starter for them, I think. So then looking at the Seahawks injuries, Julian Love is questionable, leaning towards playing. Byron Murphy's out, and Mafe is questionable. So in the spot, I think that I would like it more if numbers like 6.5, but I think the Seahawks, they've been moving the ball so well lately. Kenneth Walker, the first half he was a little bit slow to get going because he missed the past 2 games, but then he started playing really well against Detroit. And Metcalf's look great. JSN, Jack Smith and Jigba's look great. Geno Smith he's leading the NFL in passing yards here. I really think he's been playing like a top 5 quarterback. I'd say if you're at the same range of quarterback class right now as a Stafford, Cousins, Goff, they're all in the same, probably just below the top guys will be those guys. And I think they all have been proving why they can put up big games. What was it? Yeah, Cousins had a great game. Stafford,
right.
Niners, he had a great game. And Goff, obviously, against Seahawks is unbelievable, even though I don't like to give the Lions credit because they're acting like they won the Super Bowl after this one game. But I take the Seahawks to win and cover. I mean, I don't love taking them to cover 7 just because, games are weird. This could be low scoring. Seahawks could start out slow. The Giants could, if the Seattle is sleepwalking on defense, they might move the ball. But really, they're throwing the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. They're not. And Jalen Hyatt, who was a well thought of rookie last year, who didn't really have much success. Those are the really 3 guys for the Giants, and I don't know how they're going to move the ball. So Seahawks -7. If I had to do a prop for this, I'd say DK Metcalf touchdown at +140 or whatever. That's decent. And maybe Geno Smith over. Let me go see the stat for that. I think he's going to have a 2 touchdown game because he's put up a lot of yards. But the stats people will say is 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 4 games. Nothing crazy. So if I had to go to passing stats, let me go and look at the passing touchdowns here. Daniel Jones under, or he's not even projected to get a touchdown, or over 0.5 is -225. Geno over 1.5 is -115. So I take Geno, do that, and I take a 1 DK Metcalf touchdown. I think that's what I'm leaning. What about you, man?
So I highlighted this game. I expect the Seahawks to really break out this game. I think it's a bit of a stretch, what I'm going to say here. I mean, it can hit, but I actually like the Seahawks spread -13. I think Geno is on an absolute roll. They're playing against a Giants team that's looked pretty abysmal. Yes, they showed flashes of a team that can compete when they were against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys haven't really proven much. So I like the Seahawks because also Kenneth Walker had a big game last week. I think they're going to be able to control the pace against the Giants. Also mix up the play calling. They have plenty of different playmakers. Metcalf, I expect Metcalf to at least have a touchdown here. And I think Tyler Lockett's going to show out as well. It's at home in Seattle. So I actually like heavy the spread here. I have a -13 for +170, the Seahawks. So I think they're going to take care of business. And Geno Smith is going to continue to prove a lot of naysayers why he is an elite quarterback this year. And in the running, still for the MVP candidacy.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing I don't know what his odds right now for MVP are. I can look that up real quick. I don't know if Seattle's going to get enough wins for that because their schedule gets tougher, though. If he plays well against the Niners, the Falcons coming up, they have the Jets, the Bears, a lot of these fringe playoff teams. If he starts doing well in those, then maybe he will show out here. I'm going to go look at the MVP while we're just talking about that team awards. MVP, you got Mahomes +250. I don't know why Mahomes is ahead of Josh Allen when he said Mahomes has been, I haven't fantasy, it's not been good to start this year. A lot of that's to do with injuries to receivers and stuff like that, but I'm not really seeing it. So looking at Geno Smith right now, +6,000 for MVP, that's definitely something that you could put a future on. I might even do that. $50 gets you 3,050. That's not the worst thing. Right. And I also had DK Metcalf, I got a few weeks ago, I was thinking about him. He's plus 50,000 or something insane. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, next game we got is the Packers and the Rams. This is in LA. This one, I think that the easy way to go is the Packers. I think that they're a healthier team right now. The Rams are just decimated with injuries right now. No Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp, and their defense has been a little shaky. But I don't know. Something about this seems like a spot where the Rams at home could be desperate. They could put up a fight. Um, do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to go out on the limb here. I'm going to say the Rams win this one. I don't want to bet that. I don't want to root for that, but I just think that I don't know. I think that Jordan Love's coming off an injury right now. He's been a little bit shaky to start the year. I think they have a lot of decent receivers in the Packers. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, but none of these guys are like solidified number ones. And then Josh Jacobs been good, but I think the Rams can run the ball. And as we saw last week, the Packers got off to a slow start. Their defense they've been getting some turnovers, but they're not exactly the most stout group at this point. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. It's kind of just gut pick. I'm just gonna take the Rams. I think they're gonna win this one. I think that'll be a good game. But yeah, how about you?
So actually, I circled this game as a big show me game for the Packers. I think they're going to take care of business in LA. They had a horrendous outing last week against the Vikings until they made a storming comeback to only lose by 2 points against them. Jordan Love showed something towards the end of that game. But like you said, I mean, I don't blame the Rams pick. The Rams somehow, even though they're a god-awful team this year, they somehow have grit and they still fight despite all the injuries. They showed that against especially the 49ers that week, that they made that one comeback win.
Yep.
And it was at LA. So there's a possibility of that happening. But I think Jordan Love and the Packers are going to be too strong. Their defense is ranked right now the number 2 or 3 defense in fantasy PPR rankings. I think they have a lot of playmakers. It's Alexander, cornerback, on that team. So I do believe Stafford's going to struggle in the air. They're going to have to rely on the run game with Kyren Williams, who's obviously a top running back. Who I think that's the main concern right now is how can the Packers contain him? If the Packers can contain him, then it should be a pretty easy win for them. But, they can't discount any team in the NFL week by week. This is definitely seems like it could be a trap game, but I'm going to be confident and go with the Packers money line here, minus 170. I think Jordan Love is going to bounce back from the loss last week. So it's a second week back from that MCL sprain or whatever the injury was exactly. But I'm going to go with the Packers money line minus 170 to show out in LA and take care of business.
Okay, cool. And would you say that you would think that for them to cover the 3? I mean, I know it's like one of the spreads that's very like they cover, they're going to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I think. Right. Yeah. So I think they will cover the spread, and I actually didn't see the -8 being too bad either. But yeah, -8's a stretch because obviously that goes out of the 1 touchdown zone. But -3, I think the Packers will cover.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and also another thing to keep in mind, like I was talking about earlier, there's going to be a lot of Packers fans in this game. LA is a big market. A lot of people want to travel there. Nice place to go. It's not really a big football town. It's more like Dodgers and I think USC and Lakers, and I don't know. So it would probably feel like a Packers home game for people there.
And real quick, 2 players I would circle and see maybe they might, have a big game. They did actually last week. Tucker Kraft, the starting tight end of the Packers, and Dontavian Wicks, the wide receiver for the Packers. He had 78 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns last week. So it would be interesting to see if those guys continue to break out and kind of show their prowess on offense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I have that. If I have to do one, I'm going to go for I think I'm going to go Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown, and I'm going to go with Tutu Atwell over 100 yards. I think that guy's a pretty big vertical threat. I remember maybe was it 3 years ago when he was drafted? I kind of wanted Seattle to take him in the second round. I think they picked just after him, I want to say, and they ended up taking D. Eskridge, who was kind of a bust. So
he's been playing well. He's been playing well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next game we got is Steelers and Cowboys. This game's being played in Pittsburgh. There's no Micah Parsons for this one, and DeMarcus Lawrence on IR. Jalen Warren's out. Trevon Diggs is questionable. A lot of injuries for both teams. Russell Wilson still isn't playing. I'm not sure if he's going to be the starter at this point. I think the Steelers might as well just roll with Fields at this point. I think that Pittsburgh's defense is just very impressive. I mean, I kind of want to take the Cowboys, but I think that in Pittsburgh, I just don't see how they're going to be able to get enough stops on defense. And I think that the pass rush, T.J. Watt's been amazing. Alex Highsmith's always good. They have Patrick Queen now. the Cowboys have not really had a good way of running the ball this year. They're using Ezekiel Elliott and
Right.
Keandre Turpin, I want to say, is the guy they've got.
Yeah, they've been using Elliott, Dowdle,
Dowdle. Yeah, I know there's
Turpin, the wide receiver. Yeah,
Oh,
Turpin. They've been using him too. Yeah, they've been using him.
Yeah, and for my props, so I'm gonna take Steelers to cover, win, and I'll take CD Lamb score touchdown. Though I don't think the Steelers are the best secondary, and I think that Lamb has been he's coming off a good game. I think he's gonna definitely get one this game. So it'll be a good game. It's not one that I really look forward to betting because I really don't think either of these teams are that good. I think they're both kind of the same thing with their fringe playoff teams that if they get in, they're probably not going to make much noise. But
Right.
yeah, I'm taking the Steelers in this one. How about you?
Yeah, I think the Steelers seem like the safe bet. It's just too tough to predict what the state of the Cowboys are right now. I mean, they had a close win against the Giants team that's been struggling. Then they had a pretty horrendous outing against the Ravens and made it close at the ending. And then obviously before that, were embarrassed by the Saints. So I don't think the Cowboys have shown enough to really rely on them, especially on a money line pick. They are going against a top defense with the Steelers led by a TJ Watt. So I think they're going to take care of business at home, in Pittsburgh. They're going to take care of business. Justin Fields is starting to get acclimated with the offense. He's running pretty well. Still needs to show a little bit more promise with the throwing, but clearly he liked to use Pickens last week. He even used Frymouth, the tight end. He's been obviously doing great numbers for a year. Tight ends have not been performing up to standard. So I think he's going to rely on Frymouth. I could actually see Frymouth getting one touchdown against the Cowboys. That's probably my favorite player prop for the game. And doesn't mean it won't be a close game. I think it's just going to be a back and forth game. It's going to be a tough matchup. But yeah, Prescott and the Cowboys just not show me enough to be able to say that they're going to win this game on the road.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that, like you mentioned, Pickens, I had Pickens over 59.5. I think that was the number for him. So I would go for the over on that one. And last game here, we have the Saints and the Chiefs. Chiefs are -5.5. And I mean, I think in this spot, I would probably go with, I don't know, given this number, I might actually take the Saints cover. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think that the Saints, they've lost two really close games. They lost a 58-yard field goal last week, and they lost the game to the Eagles where the defense played well the entire game, and then started screwing up at the end. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are without Rashee Rice. There was a pretty unfortunate injury for that guy last week. Like Mahomes rolled up over him, and he got a ankle injury, I want to say, or knee injury.
Right.
And I think that Kelsey's due for a touchdown at this point Monday night. I think that could be something that we'll see. But yeah, I just don't trust them to really cover here. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win a close one, and my prop would be Kelsey touchdown. And there's not really too much else here. I think that Kamara could also have a decent game to keep him in it. He's been playing well this year. And the Saints also, very underrated defense. I think they have a lot of tough players. They've been together for a long time. You look at Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore. These are all capable veterans that will keep them in the game. But yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet. It's tough because I guess I already had the big upset earlier. I said for, I guess, -5.5, which is stretching it with the Patriots. That's my big upset for the week or big play. I mean, it looks like it's a promising pick, the Saints +210, but they're at Chiefs. Just because Rashee Rice got hurt doesn't mean that the Chiefs aren't ready for the next man up. Xavier Worthy's probably going to have a pretty good performance on Monday night. He'll have to step up to the plate. Kelsey is due to keep playing at a higher pace and a higher level. So I think the Chiefs here end up winning. It's going to be a close game. I don't like the -5.5. I think the +5.5 Saints seems like a good pick here because I still think it's going to be a close game. Derek Carr will keep it close with Kamara. They'll use Olave and Shaheed in the air to make the game close. And I don't know the exact score, but I believe it will be a pretty close game at the end.
Sounds good. So you have the Saints covering, and to win, who'd you say again? Sorry, I zoned out for 1 second.
So I think the Chiefs are going to win.
But Saints.
And I think the spread is the best play here. So plus
Okay.
5.5 Saints. I think it's going to be a 2-3 point type game. It's going to be decided by a field goal or something, but I think it's going to be very close. Both kickers. I think Group is the Saints kicker, Bucker on the Chiefs. They're both capable kickers. It's going to be a back and forth type game. Chiefs have kind of struggled a little bit in the run game. That's why they brought Kareem Hunt in. Carson Steele didn't really perform very well, but P. Ryan is a formidable veteran too. So it's just going to be a back and forth game, a lot of running, a lot of screen passes. But I still think the Saints plus 5.5